try switching your Skype thing so we can hear it.
That's what I'm saying. It's in Japanese, so I can't navigate the menus.
Uh,
I guess I can.
third, yeah, we can just
Oh yeah, guide me, my friends.
yes. So hit the tools, which is second from the right, and then options, which is the bottom menu. Control plus is the keybind for it.
Oh, nope. Control plus. Does not seem to be working.
Hmm. Well,
Wait.
the
Third
menu in
from
the right in the main Skype window, with your contacts.
right.
Second from the right is tools.
Oh, from the right, and then
Yeah,
third. Oh, there we go. Now I
yeah.
see. Oh, control plus. That's control plus comma. You fool.
Oh, I didn't realize there. Okay.
Oh, you
Yes.
fool. Okay.
I'm sorry, I fucked it up again. So then just hit the
Okay.
little headphone icon there, and then switch the microphone, which is the top
Okay, I
one.
did
And
it.
there you go.
Does it sound different?
Yes, you are now a tiny little voice. Make sure your mic volume is all the way up, and automatically adjust microphone settings is turned off
Uh,
in Skype.
whoop, nope, not like that. All the way up. Yep, it's off. I guess I just have to put it real close to my face. That sucks. I gotta hold it like a big dumb idiot.
Now, that's weird. I don't know why it's quieter for you because we're using the exact same mic now,
Yeah, I don't know.
and it's a USB mic.
Yep, I don't know. Um, I'll just sort of. It won't fucking. Can't put it. Okay, maybe right there is good.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, alright. So, yeah, this looks okay. How. Now everyone is low. Oh, that's because that's happening. Okay, there we go. That's that. How about now, guys?
Yep, that sounds fine to me.
Okay, hopefully.
Where do you have your mic? Just out of curiosity.
It's just like right under my mouth, like 2 inches away.
Oh, you're holding it. Okay.
No, it's just on my desk, right
Oh, okay.
up under my mouth.
Okay, perfect. Because it sounds great. So everything's fine.
Okay,
Hey.
cool.
Coolio.
Alright, back to the kissing. Even so, he didn't understand. He didn't think of it as unwanted, so there was no other way.
Oof.
Tongues entwining warmly, Tetsuo tasted him, sliding them together. With that indulgent numbness grew and scattered throughout his body. Although shyness welled up in him when he let out a sigh, he couldn't stop. Seeding your quiet on stream compared to others. Alright, I'll turn everyone else down then. God, why the fuck? This mic was supposed to fix everything!
It sounds fine. It's just that the output level is slightly lower than the old one, so you'll have to rebalance your levels on the
Yeah,
screen a
okay.
little.
I'm rebalancing. So that's that. So try that out for size. Once his tongue had moved to every spot inside Yoji's mouth, Tetsuo slowly pulled his lips away. A thin thread of saliva from when they had been joined stretched until it broke. Ugh, gross. I hate that trope. It's so gross.
Yes,
It's in animes all the time, though. Ing. Immediately wiping his mouth with the back of his hand, he turned his face away. He wasn't sure what expression to make. His cheeks were hot, like all the blood in his body had gathered in them. Tetsuo didn't seem to shy away in the least, staring at Yoji wordlessly.
What?
I think that's Yoji.
What?
Okay. Yoji spoke in a curt tone to hide his shyness when Tetsuo slowly closed his eyes and hid his face against his chest. Aww. His dark arms slipped under his body, holding him tightly. Aww, but he's a rapist. Why can't it be nice? He was surprised, but Tetsuo didn't seem to plan on doing anything further. His strong bone structure and his firm muscles, his wide shoulders, the weight as he leaned on him. Definitely the body of a man.
Oh man.
And yet, there he was, not finding it unpleasant for some reason. Their body heat melted together where Tetsuo kept close to him. It was extremely comforting, and gradually he felt sleepiness advance on him. You guys need to study. Tetsuo turned his face to the side, pressing his cheek to
Tetsuo,
Yoji's
honey,
chest.
the food is ready.
Maybe listening to his pulse. For that brief moment, all of his insecurity and doubt disappeared. Even without saying anything, he understood. They understood each other. There were moments like this. There were moments like that, weren't there? This is Tetsuo.
Cool for me. Anytime.
Aw. In a faint tone, Tetsuo whispered, "What did he mean?" Just as he, just as he was about to question him, he heard the sound of vibration. His phone. He could hear it from his bag. Hello, condenser.
Science fan. No, science fan.
No.
Oh,
You're Yoji,
is it
right?
Tetsuo's phone or is it Yoji's phone? I
It's
can't fucking tell.
Yoji's.
Hold on. Shit.
Standing up, he grabbed his phone from his bag beside the bed. Privately disappointed that the moment of tranquility was over, he looked at his phone's screen. A text from his sister. With the subject, "Growing up healthy." There was an image attached. The image seemed to be his nephew, a baby smiling wildly. He thought his eyes looked like his sister.
Oh my god. Let me take a moment to link you guys to a picture of this baby. Just a second. There we go. This is what the baby looks like IRL.
Alright.
Wee.
Suddenly, he wanted to show the picture to Tetsuo. He wasn't thinking
We could
about
have
it
one of
deeply,
these!
but simply struck with the idea. This. Oh. This is you.
This
This.
sister's child. He was born the other day.
Why did you think that was you, Science Man?
Because. Everything.
There's another possible image for this baby.
I've gone baby crazy.
When he spoke out to him, Tetsuo appeared at the phone.
What do you think about
kids?
Oh.
What do
Yeah,
I
see?
think?
Nobody
I'm
knows
not
who's speaking.
fond.
Nobody knows.
Tetsuo.
Right there.
Oh, I mean,
They look like they'll break if you touch them.
he looked at
What?
Tetsuo's face at that unexpected answer. It was a very
I'm
sensitive
scared of
answer
babies.
that deviated from his image of Tetsuo.
I patted the baby
You
too hard.
can't break baby.
Tetsuo glanced at Yoji, but returned his gaze to the picture. Tetsuo.
Science.
Looks like you.
This kid?
Yeah.
What about him?
His eyes.
That's what he thought made his nephew resemble his sister. He definitely had been told they resembled his sister often.
Those eyes that won't trust anyone from the start look like yours a lot.
Whoa, they're talking in real talking terms now. Weird, it's weird and weird.
Yes.
With those inexcusable words, he looked at Tetsuo with a slight scowl.
What the hell?
That's how it is.
Won't trust anyone.
You've never thought talking to anyone was fun, have you?
Hmm.
We could do something different that's not talking.
He was stopped by sudden words that struck his core. He didn't refute it, because that's how it was. When he talked to someone, he was able to grasp the enjoyable atmosphere, but he himself invariably never felt truly as if he were enjoying himself.
It's called being introverted, it's fine.
Tetsuo.
Is it different with your sister? Your reaction when you saw the picture. You had a different expression from usual.
Tetsuo jerked his head towards the phone. His surprise grew. He hadn't expected him to be looking him over that closely.
She's my only blood relative.
As he responded, his gaze falling to the image of the LCD screen on his phone.
Your parents?
Died in an accident a long time ago.
While he answered, he realized this was the first time he talked about it to someone. He hadn't even spoken of it to Makoto. Even if he'd asked, he probably would have dodged the question. But now he responded without any reluctance. Sure enough. Nope. We're both wrong.
Sure, Mama. You don't have any siblings?
He figured he probably didn't, but he tried asking.
Then,
Whoa.
You
whatever,
go.
bro.
He gave Tetsuo a puzzled look.
What do you mean you don't know?
I'm adopted.
I knew it!
Whoa, okay. I didn't.
Well, I hinted at it earlier, even though it was just to make a joke, because he was talking about his mom returning him. It was a bad translation. Okay,
What?
he didn't believe his ears.
I don't know my real parents.
He was bewildered at his indifferent tone when he answered, so that was the truth.
Have you ever wanted to know where
Oh,
your real parents
no. Are they brothers?
are? No.
Maybe. Probably not, though. Maybe. They're probably not, like, full brothers, if they are. But I can sort of see if, like, there's some sort of weird breeding program going on that they might be. Sorry. Have you ever...
No.
Oh no, that's why. No. That's why Xenia and him haven't been seen in the same place. Because then, if you looked at them together too closely, you would realize they look similar.
Maybe, but they have been in the same place a couple times.
Oh yeah.
They fought.
All my theories are falling apart.
That's you.
Not really.
He didn't know his real parents, nor did he want to. In short, he'd never know where or who he came from. Not the memories, warmth, or anything of being raised by both his parents. What about his adoptive parents? They like him, probably. When he thought about it,
Well,
his legs,
Yuji doesn't understand that.
his legs grew weak with anxiety. Judging from the way Tetsuo spoke, he felt no love or attachment for the idea of a family. That was such a painful and lonely thing, wasn't it? As far as Yoji could see, his current mother, at least, was such a nice person. But even with those parents who had taken him and given them their love, there was no way the massive darkness born in his heart would disappear. Yeah, Yoji's dad could heal, so maybe that is a thing. But, yeah, Yoji should... Well, maybe it's just a genetics thing, where some siblings have things and others don't. Anyway, even if it had faded, when he looked into his face impulsively, he felt himself waver. If that had happened to him, just thinking about it frightened him. If you have just one blood relative... Oh, no, that's Tetsuo. Maybe? Nope, never mind. Yoji had his sister and the memory of his parents, but Tetsuo didn't have that. He was isolated, his heart forever wrapped in darkness. So, he felt something off. A gap when he was at the dinner table. Tetsuo
If
had
only
things
there
in
was
his
a
heart.
close blood relative, they could...
Maybe, who knows?
No.
Maybe not. I don't think so, honestly. Tetsuo hadn't opened his heart to his current family, or maybe he couldn't. Maybe that's how blah blah blah. Oh! Why don't we go to dinner, says Tetsuo. Tetsuo rose from bed. Yoji rose as well. As if he were drawn it, picking up his bag and leaving the room with Tetsuo. Even now he was unsure as to what was on Tetsuo had on his mind. But even so, he felt as though he understood Tetsuo just a little. Ugh, Jesus.
You want to swap again?
Yeah. Now that the kissing
Leaving
is
the-
over.
Leaving the house and heading in the direction of the station, they came across a ramen shop tucked away between the residential buildings. It was just around dinner time, so there appeared to be customers inside. As they approached the shop, a good smell hung in the air. Tetsuo entered the shop with an experienced gait, sitting in an empty seat at the counter. Yuji sat beside him.
Man,
Resting
this
his buttocks.
photo, the second baby photo you linked, just refuses to load, but that's okay.
Oh man.
The usual. How about you? I'm Tetsuo again.
Question. Yuji hurriedly looked over the menu.
Miso ramen.
When he placed his order with the shopkeeper, he received a cheery reply at once.
Hell yeah, dude.
With a small sigh, Yuji took a sip of his water. He felt oddly tense, as he seldom visited ramen shops. Yuji was very boring.
I'm scared of ramen.
This is, Yoji.
Do you come often?
Yeah.
There was no mistaking that he was a regular, since he simply ordered the usual.
The usual enjoyment buffet.
Even so, the combination of Tetsuo and ramen was surprising. Truly, he felt as if he were being constantly surprised by Tetsuo. Before, he'd had an impression of him as a lifeless doll of sorts, but now he didn't think that at all.
Ramen scene.
This is the first person I knew who could enjoy food. Before long, 2 steaming bowls, a plate of gyoza, and a bowl of rice were set on the counter.
Man, I want some of this veggie ramen that has avocado.
Yeah,
Oh, it's so good.
this looks nice. Yuji reached out to grab his bowl. It was heavy and hotter than expected.
This is
Okay.
important.
The white rising steam mixed with a rich stench stimulated his appetite. For once, he's got an appetite.
Hooray!
The gyoza and rice seemed to be part of Tetsuo's order. Tetsuo had already split his chopsticks and started eating. Yuji peered at him with a sidelong glance, finding his portion quite impressive. He was always just eating bread at school, so he figured him for a light eater.
The big boy's a big eater too.
After gazing at Tetsuo for a moment, he split his own chopsticks and carried some noodle to his mouth.
This is a good drawing of Yoji and a bad drawing of Tetsuo. That is my
Yep.
assessment of this image.
Look at that hand.
Yep.
It had been truly a long time since he last ate ramen. It was delicious, the perfectly boiled noodles entwined expertly with miso soup. But it was just too hot. He took just a little with his chopsticks and ate. Do you like... Sorry.
That's probably Tetsuo. Do you like ramen?
Questioned abruptly, Yuji's eyes turned to Tetsuo while he chewed.
Since you didn't eat the bread.
Oh.
That was right. He had thrust away the bread Tetsuo had given him. At that time, he'd been confused and unconsciously picked that course of action.
It's been a while since I had it.
While he spoke, he unthinkingly pushed the fermented bamboo shoots to the side with his chopsticks. He didn't have a lot of likes or dislikes when it came to food, but he didn't like the fermented shoots at all. He had never liked that indescribable flavor.
I love bamboo shoots.
When he moved them all and started to slurp his noodles again, a pair of chopsticks reached out from beside him.
Oh man, where
The
can
chopsticks are alive.
Man, where can I get some fermented or some bamboo shoots around here? I wonder.
What does bamboo taste like? It's just a giant grass.
Yeah,
So what?
Isn't
I
it
mean,
sweet?
I mostly like the texture.
Tetsuo's chopsticks plucked the bamboo shoots he'd pushed away, bringing them to his own bowl.
Oh, it's so cute and domestic.
Before Yuji knew it, every shoot had disappeared cleanly from his bowl.
I'll take these. Give me the shoots. You
Uh,
like those?
Surprised by his strange actions, he questioned Tetsuo.
Nah.
Without turning his gaze to Yuji, Tetsuo responded.
Oh, he's doing a nice thing for his best friend and also the guy he raped twice.
Saying nothing further, Yuji once again moved his chopsticks to eat his noodles. Suddenly, he remembered something from his childhood. When he didn't like a kind of food, his parents would sneakily switch it with his sisters. Nonchalantly, he gazed over at Tetsuo, who was eating silently. He felt his chest grow warm, ever so slightly.
Huh.
His heart melted and grew 3 times that day.
No, I mean, we have those, Flying Man.
Morning, the
and
next
also,
day.
at any Asian place, I can get bamboo shoots as part of a dish.
Oh yeah, we aren't keeping you up, are we sure, Doom?
No, it's the weekend.
Okay, I just wanted to be okay.
I should go to bed soon, but
Morning, the next day.
Yeah, okay. Blah blah blah.
Sorry.
There's something going on. Puzzled. He continued. Oh, it's Senya.
Looking at his figure, a complicated feeling brewed in Yuji's chest. He was someone who knew something about him. He remembered he hadn't caught sight of him since he quarreled with Tetsuo. If he could, he wanted to avoid getting near Zenya a second time. He wasn't sure that if they ended up talking, he wanted to ask about what he knew immediately, but that was a hopeless possibility. Trying to avoid entering Zenya's field of vision, Yuji moved to pass through the gate.
It's all your fault, Yoji.
Zenya whispered quietly.
That's
Better not, yeah.
Yeah.
His feet immediately stopped despite what he thought.
Like, say, Makoto Mita, you broke him.
Discomfort ran through when Makoto's name came out of Zenya's mouth.
Your fault, Yoji.
Speaking in an uninterested tone, Zenya tilted his head with a slight smile.
What will you do, Yoji? You'll keep breaking many more important things after this, too. Do you want to make everyone unhappy, Yoji?
Make them unhappy. Those words pierced his chest deeply. When he glared at Zenya, succumbing to anger, Zenya was smiling with amusement, eyebrows slightly raised. If he responded here, that would be just what he wanted.
I don't like how everybody in California thinks that everybody else in the United States is, like, backwoods, doesn't have anything considered, like, exotic or whatever, Asian. Yes, we have bamboo shoots here, okay? We're not...
It's America. We have the power to import anything to any state.
Anyway.
Swallowing the words of resentment that had risen to his throat, Yuji turned away from Zenya and started to walk again. He thought he might start to pursue him, but there didn't seem to be any sign of that happening. The word Zenya had thrust at him stuck in his head. He knew there was no reason to take him seriously, but he was still uneasy. He was suspicious that those words were because of whatever it was he knew. Sinking into a gloomy mood, Yuji changed
the
his shoe.
classroom. Here we go in the classroom.
I'll be back in just a second. You guys keep going.
Alright. Dang, that's creepy.
Dang, that's creepy!
That all the animals they keep in the back of the school died. You.
That's what the guy who saw it for real said. They were all mashed up, more than just dead. They turned into minced meat, just lumps of meat. You couldn't tell what was what.
Oh my god, quit it. I can't handle that.
Well, but the staff room was all abuzz too. The police came. Thought maybe some outsider broke in and did it. Maybe next he'll come for us?
Stop it, really? Wanna get smacked?
Lumps of meat.
Lumps of meat. Lumps of meat.
Memories he wanted to forget were being awoken. Recently, his physical condition had been acting up to the point he had to ask himself if it had all been a dream.
Oh yeah, he hasn't pooped a meat in a while.
But it most surely hadn't been a dream. He understood. He definitely did. The bell signaling morning prayers rang out, and the students returned to their desks all at once. The door in front of them opened, and the teacher entered. However, it was not their homeroom teacher, but the teacher who was in charge of Bible studies who had entered. I am Mr. Kamiya's supervisor. I will give you the details once prayer is over. With that, he stood at the podium. As the uneasiness in the students grew pronounced, the hymns played over the speakers. Singing along out of habit, the students recited the words of prayer. When the prayers were finished and they had been seated, the teacher looked around the class with both hands on the desk. I think some of you may know, but Mita was hospitalized. Mr. Kamiya has gone to check in on Mita's condition.
That's still you.
Makoto hospitalized? He was astonished by those unexpected words.
Lately, Mita has
Lately,
been in bad health, but we expect him to return soon. Everyone, please wait without worrying. Well, let me take attendance.
With his unaffected business-like announcement, the teacher opened the attendance book and began to call names. The students sitting next to Yuji began to whisper in low voices.
Did you hear? Why Makoto got hospitalized? He took a bunch of sleeping pills. Oh no. Helmet condenser.
God.
God, so that's attempted suicide. But Makoto, no way!
But recently, he was a little dark, huh?
Yeah, well, definitely. He seemed a little brooding.
Right? When you think about it, it could be true, hey? Boom.
Meh.
He froze at the conversation he'd overheard. Makoto was hospitalized. He'd taken many sleeping pills. Gripped by unavoidable feelings of guilt, Yuji felt his palms running with sweat. Yesterday, the chemistry room incident? He couldn't think of anything else it could be.
Like say, Makoto Nita, you broke it.
Yeah, I don't know who's supposed to be saying
That
it.
was
Zenya's
really
words
memory.
echoed heavily in his ears.
Sorry. Do you want to make everyone unhappy, Yoji?
Make everyone unhappy. The words had stabbed at his heart, dove deeper still, spreading the wound. Was it his fault Makoto had gotten so strange? If he hadn't associated him, maybe Makoto would have stayed how he was. He looked over to Makoto's seat, empty as if there was a hole there. Until now, everything had seemed like someone else's problem. He hadn't thought his path would intersect with anyone else's. But he'd stepped into someone else's path before he knew it. Maybe with the accident his parents have? No. That wasn't it. He was trembling. His fingertips cold and numb, breath growing ragged, his field of vision swayed unstable. Though he slowly closed his eyes to relax, his quavering showed no signs of stopping.
I'm actually somewhat surprised that a game which is this weird and gross lots of times didn't just have Makoto die, but we'll see.
After that, he was completely unable to concentrate on class, and before he knew it, it was lunchtime. A terrible uneasiness plagued him. There was nothing he could do but bear it. He wanted to see his sister. Suddenly, he remembered her tender voice. He just had to see her somewhere. Stirred by his impulsive thoughts, Yuji grabbed his phone from his bag and opened the text message composition screen. Typing out a text asking if it would be okay for him to go now, he highlighted his sister's address and hit send. Making sure that it finished sending, he then flopped on his desk. Right now, she was in the hospital. He fully knew a response wasn't going to come immediately. But still, he hoped.
I have a feeling something bad
Well,
might happen to the sister.
Well, if she's in the hospital, she's not very busy.
Yeah. Well, maybe she's
Yeah.
asleep. I don't know.
Wait, Makoto's in the hospital too? Oh, no.
No.
He wanted a response. Soon, soon! After about 10 minutes passed, his phone vibrated. Moving, he grabbed his phone to look. A reply from his sister. It was titled, "What Happened?" The body starting with that she didn't mind if he came.
Oh, it's fine.
After reading the text, Yuji shut his phone,
Alright, he's going
grabbed,
to...
heading down the hall to the teacher gave him a dubious look, but he's still changing his shoes. His emotions were strangely stirred. He go to meet his sister.
Here he goes to see his sister. Here he is to see his sister. Well, not quite yet. First, he's got to get off the stop at the bus, and then go to the hospital. Gotta go to the hospital. He's got the hospital.
Hey, a new
cell.
location. Cool. Cutting. He finished up his.
Here he
He
goes
got
to
off.
The floor. The 304.
Walking in the name field, Erika Serizawa. His breath grew labored and he grasped at his chest without thinking. He'd come here with such determination, but it had truly been ages since he last saw his sister. Ooh, we're gonna get a new sprite? Now that it was
Maybe.
down to the wire, he was nervous.
Or maybe he's just gonna run away like a little baby.
What expression should he wear? Usually filled with many expressions and a full range.
Of
What should he
emotions.
Just now he was starting to worry over these things. But there was nothing he could do despite his hesitation. He prepared himself and softly opened the door. His cheek was touched by a puff of warm air. The scene of the pure white room came into vision. But unlike the ambience that stretched through the hall, it was white that seemed ephemeral. Perhaps the window was open, as the curtains were dancing and swaying in the wind. Sitting on the bed was a thin body that seemed on the verge of breaking. Had she always been so proud? Had she always been so white? It was different from what he remembered. But the person who was smiling was most certainly
Hey! Aw, she looks nice.
Sister.
Yukon.
At the sound of the voice saying his name, he found himself getting teary. The inside of his throat grew hot, and he bit his lower lip to hide the urge to cry brewing in him. His sister's eyes narrowed happily, a smile tugging at the corners of her lips.
Sorry to show up so suddenly.
Oh no.
Sorry, I'm just so sorry, guys. I don't know what it. Oh.
I'm sorry for
surprised.
showing up so suddenly after I said I would come.
Oh no, I'm surprised, but glad you came. How's school?
All right.
I see.
Tell the truth, he should have still been in class. He expected his sister knew this, but that she likely didn't venture to question as she was trying to figure out why Yuji had come. Closing the door, Yuji approached his sister. For some reason, he couldn't look directly at her, and his gaze fell to the floor.
Have you been well? Blah blah blah.
Oh, naturally, I've
Okay.
been well, myself and the baby.
You still have to wait to be discharged.
That's right. Seems like it's going to take just a bit longer. Although I would like to be out of here soon.
She shrugged with a bitter smile.
That's inconvenient. In a few ways.
I'm used to the hospital, so I'm not stressed.
Yuji and his sister frequently suffered in the hospital as children, repeatedly entering and being discharged. It was a natural thing to say after that experience, but it was still a bit painful to hear.
Yes?
Congratulations. I wanted to meet you and say it in proper.
With those congratulatory words, his sister smiled with genuine happiness.
Thank you.
That smiling face made his sister the most beautiful he'd ever seen her. It satisfied him. His sister was happy. He could feel the delight and strength and safety creating a new life.
Sister, are you happy?
What's this so suddenly?
It's nothing. I just wanted to ask.
His sister looked at him rather shyly, giving him a little nod.
I'm happy.
Is that so? Good.
Even if he could tell, he wanted to hear it from her mouth. Relieved, the nervousness he'd felt from when he'd first entered the room finally dwindled.
Yukon, could you sit there?
She held out a hand towards a seat beside the bed. As prompted, he sat down.
How about you? How is school? You had spoken to me about a friend of yours, right?
Yes, that's right.
Did that go well?
Mm.
I see.
She gave a small nod and looked down. Suddenly her expression darkened. He felt that abrupt change, and he could guess how she felt.
Sis?
I'm sorry.
She shook her head along with those vague words. But when she looked up, there was a sort of determination reflected in her eyes.
Well,
She met Yuji's eyes with seriousness and spoke.
there's something I need to apologize to you for.
What?
He was taken aback by those unexpected words. What could she have to apologize for?
You need to apologize?
Yes, I always meant to tell you, but I never could. Today when I got your text, I decided that if you came, I'd tell you. Oh boy.
She stopped her words there, and though she seemed to have difficulty saying it, she opened her mouth again.
What I wanted to tell you is about Dad and Mom, and you as well! Oh boy!
Dun dun dun! Dad and Mom.
I am Dad and Mom. He opened his eyes wide reflexively. Both of his sister's hands were wrapped warmly in her sleepwear set in her lap, as pictured. It may be something I
Nope,
should have...
nope, stop it.
Shut up, science man. Shut up.
Sorry.
It may be something I should have told you about truthfully much earlier. No, I should have. It's what I really happened at the time of the accident. The accident.
It was... Ah!
It was certainly about the accident that took the lives of both his parents. What could it be? Fluttering her long eyelashes, she blinked slowly.
When the accident happened... Oh boy. Flashback. That day had been
That
a hot
day.
and sultry day when the cicadas were awfully loud.
She's the narrator now.
Summer
was summer
vacation.
vacation.
Yuki and her parents were taking things to a holiday house owned by a relative.
They're both narrators.
Everyone narrates now, Jerry Goon. Everyone.
His sister had been at camp with her school club and hadn't been able to go.
Swaying in the station
Swaying.
wagon driven by the relatives that had called them to visit, Yoji was pressed against the window in the back seat, gazing outside. Now telling
The scenery that had changed again and again was interesting, and he never tired of it. He felt like he could
felt
watch
like he
forever.
could
No!
watch forever.
Sentence nice, not line-wise, you fool!
Oh!
When he opened the window, a refreshing breeze blew in the great amount, and his mother scolded him for leaning outside.
Science
No,
They'd been
don't look at that,
talking
sir.
business.
Man. No, it's Science Man now.
No, you're wrong!
They've been talking busily about how Eric ought to come next time and so on.
Then with a jerk, the whole car swayed to one side.
Then another strong impact.
The sound of something hitting them hard.
The shrill sound of the brake.
They didn't still.
Unsure of what was going on, he tried desperately to cling to his seat, but his body was thrown about.
Pain ran through his head.
He must have hit something.
No!
Oh!
I put him in the coma.
Are you Yosemite Sam now, Cherry? Oh!
Oh! Stop it on my hat.
A crushing pressure hung over his body.
Without a clue as to what happened, his vision went black. In the distance, his sister was standing. She was the jerk.
When he next woke up, he was in a room he didn't recognize.
When he tried to move even just a little to right himself, he was shocked by a sharp pain.
He'd been wrapped in bandages upon arrival, and he could hear a steadfast mechanical sound.
Through the translucent plastic over his mouth, he could hear his own breathing loud at times.
There were several people who seemed to be nurses busily moving around, along with countless other concerned-looking adults surrounding him. Countless. Wow.
At the time, he didn't really know what had happened, but he'd been told by his relatives that he'd been involved in a dreadful accident.
A truck whose driver had fallen asleep at the wheel had crossed into the opposite lane, where their station wagon had been. Oh,
The wagon was half destroyed.
His aunt and uncle, who had been driving along with his parents, were instantly killed.
it was a miracle he'd been saved.
Even the news picked up the story.
He remembered virtually nothing before or after the accident had happened.
He simply felt like something had fallen out of his heart.
He didn't know what it was, but since the
No, the
accident, he
thing
found it hard to smile, even at the
The
best.
thing that fell out of his seat was the blood
Oh
orb.
no!
Even though he felt sad and
You're right.
even though he felt sad and angry at times, he hardly ever cried or
Oh my
acted
god. Cherry Doom, wait a second.
What?
Wait a second. I have a new hypothesis.
Is it my
This is a
hypothesis as
crossover.
well? Oh no.
This is a crossover with your trucker story.
Oh.
The trucker who fell asleep was Travis,
Oh no!
and he was carrying the evil blood orb god in his truck.
Maybe.
And then the blood orb god attacked Yuji while he was
Oh,
unconscious.
no. Also, maybe this is when he was out. This is when Kamiya put the thing in him, or maybe not put the thing in him, but maybe this is when the thing was put in him.
It would explain why there's like so many adults around him that he doesn't recognize.
Yeah. He hadn't really
As a
thought
whole.
anything strange of that condition.
He figured that was just how it was after the accident, and accepted it without question.
Okay, back to normal. Science man. It was about 1 week after the accident. You had mostly recovered, enough to get up by yourself. When I went to visit, you were always looking out the window. As if you were looking for something. Always just looking out the window.
A dark shadow fell over her expression.
Damn it.
If this is her flashback, this is your reading.
Alright. Sorry, I had club
Oh.
activity, so I'm a bit late today. I got peaches from the lady next door. And then... Huh? Oh, wait.
Then it's Dad. Dad, what happened? Dad moved on top of me. And so did Mom. And there was some stabbing sound. And Mom went crunch. Yoku. Dad turned into pulp.
Stop it, Yoji!
Her breathing was shaky. While he listened to the story, Yuji was gripped by a paralyzing sensation somewhere in his head. He understood that it was about him, but it came across like a story of someone he didn't know at all.
At the time, I grabbed you by the shoulders and shook you, but you wouldn't look away from the window. I thought what you were saying had something to do with shock after the incident, but that's something you'd actually experienced. After that, even at the funeral. Anyway, the truck that hit them ended on top of them, and the steel frame came through the window and pierced all three in the chest. But Takami and Izumi had tried to cover Yoji to protect him. Oh, wait. Oh boy. Someone talking
We don't know.
to... So that's why everyone figured Yoji had died instantly as well. But somehow, he started to breathe again. What a miracle. It's good they were able to save him. Someone else. This is
Yeah, but doesn't something feel off? The truck's frame definitely went into Yoji's chest as well.
Whoa! On top of... Oh, this is you still.
On top of that, Takumi's injuries were really severe for some reason. He hardly even looked human anymore.
Ooh. And Yuji was said to be drenched in what was determined to be some bodily fluid like some kind of blood.
Daddy's
Do you mean it wasn't actually the blood?
It seems it was something strictly separate from blood.
Goodness, yes, that's quite eerie.
Weird. Weird. Finally getting some answers. All our relatives spoke of you like you died for a moment and then came back. It was awful. It was distressing. I couldn't figure out why everyone couldn't just be happy. But there was nothing to be done about it. But it's true. When they brought you to the hospital, you'd been pronounced dead. And then miraculously you started to breathe again.
She chewed at her lip as if to keep herself from crying.
So that's why. At the funeral...
Oh, it's the narrator again.
At the funeral, his bleary-eyed sister had held him and spoken to him. She said, "I'll definitely protect you, Yugen." At the time, he didn't really understand it. Suddenly his vision went dark. Until just now, he'd only been told that both his parents had died in the accident. Both his parents and himself, all three of their chests, had been pierced. There was definitely a large scar that rose slightly from his chest.
Oh yeah, they mentioned that one time.
It's been in every picture where he's had his shirt off.
I have yeah, I guess I feel like I've only seen that once, though, in the bathroom scene.
He knew it was something he bore from the accident, but he hadn't known he'd been pierced. The wound on his chest gave a hard throb. He clutched at it tightly with one hand. He died, then came back to life. He wasn't human. He caused misfortune to those around him. That's a terrible conclusion. All sorts of words echoed around his head. He gripped his shirt, all his strength put into his hand. It was hard to breathe.
Aye.
He didn't have anything in particular to say. He just couldn't stand to go on without speaking. Her eyes filled with tears. Erica outstretched both her arms.
Ah, Yuken.
White, soft hands embraced Yuji's head. He pushed his brow to his sister's shoulders, and he smelled a familiar scent. Tetsu. It vaguely reminded him of his mother, distant in his memory.
Sorry I didn't
Sorry,
tell
I
you
didn't
for so
tell-
long. I was scared. I thought if I told you for the truth, you'd go back to how you were. I thought you'd go back to like you were when looking out the window. I always turned away from the truth. I thought it was fine not to tell as long as you were alive, but I felt like I had to. I thought I was hardly in any position to protect you if I couldn't even tell you the truth.
Her embrace loosened, her eyes wet with sadness peering into his face.
The other day, when I heard you were in bad shape, I was uneasy. Of course I was worried, but it wasn't just that. I had a bad premonition. I felt like something was going to happen to you somehow, and I got so scared. But I remembered what Mom and Dad told me when you were just born.
What Mom and Dad told you?
Still looking into his eyes, his sister gave a firm nod.
They said that since we were just two siblings, if something happened, they wanted us to help each other. But when I asked them why they'd said such a thing, this is what they told me.
His sister held him once more. Although she was thin and small, she passed on a strong warmth.
They said that there's nothing that can't change, that nothing that happens is a miracle. That no matter how big a change it might be, one has to accept it and move ahead with a new strength.
Strength.
That's right, strength. At the time I didn't truly understand. To be honest, I still don't. But when Mom and Dad held me just like this, I could feel their warmth.
Her cheek pushed softly against his hair.
Do you understand? Do you feel it? My temperature, my warmth. Boom.
Slowly closed
He's-
his eyes. Of course.
He felt it! Her kindness and strength. His whole body was filled with a warmth that wrapped around his entire soul. Forgiving everything. Withstanding everything. Accepting everything. This could surely be called strength. Certainly. Erica slowly pulled away from him. She wiped the moist corners of her eyes with her fingers, a sweet smile on her face as she seemed to pull herself together.
I don't think that's how Erica is pronounced, because it's a Japanese name, but I don't know how to pronounce it, so that's fine. Hey, I want you to come along with me for a moment.
She put both hands on the bed and tried to slowly lift herself up. She seemed helpless and ready to collapse, so without thinking, Yuji extended a hand to support her shoulders.
What is wrong with his sister?
She had a baby.
Well,
Thank
it
you.
seems like she's sicker than
It's a
that.
monster baby, clearly.
Oh.
Maybe.
With a happy smile, she rose, heading towards the door. They're both sickly. Imagine
Yeah,
if Yuji had a
that's
baby.
true. Well,
He
he
has.
is, constantly.
Yeah, keeping close to his sister. Yuji, it's been a... No.
It's been a while since we've walked around like this. Oh, okay. It would still be Erica. Cool.
She looked up at his face, eyes a little red.
It has.
You've gotten bigger.
Yeah.
In the past, he used to be the one looking up to his sister. Walking through the white corridor, they rode the elevator to the second floor.
Alright, they're
Walking down a
the hallway.
hallway.
They're going to see the baby, obviously. Look.
Look! She stopped. She topped in front of that room and peered into the window.
Oh, way to take charge, Erica.
Alright, thanks for that. Inside of the sweetly decorated room laid newborn babies, sleeping in tiny beds. There were about 12 beds total, each with a plate displaying the gender and name of the child.
All of the beds
Yes.
were empty, and one big baby was in the middle.
The gender says question mark.
2 nurses in masks and hats were moving around about tampering with equipment
Wait, that's not right.
Yeah.
Tampering.
That is not.
and checking in on the babies.
Are these babies dying from our tampering exercise yet?
There, look. The left nurse in the first row.
She pointed out one of the beds inside.
He's sleeping well.
Watching the baby, she whispered softly.
He could feel that same kindness and strength in her profile that he did when she held him.
Yukon, your uncle's come to visit.
You? Is that his name?
Well,
Shaking her head a little, she turned her gaze from the baby to Yuji. Didn't I say she was gonna name him after the brother?
Oh, god damn it.
it's Yuji from Yuya, and then the G from Yoji.
Yuya was her husband's name.
And then...
Me!
That's right. You know,
Smiling peacefully, she gazed lovingly at her baby, sleeping on the other side of the window.
I was told because my body can't take it, I may not be able to give birth again. So I gave my precious child a name from those of precious people. Boo.
Me.
His heart was filled, and he couldn't speak. Only a long breath spilled past his lips.
Sorry, are you surprised? Well, even if you tell me I shouldn't have, it's too bad. I'm not giving this up.
She looked at him, her eyes hiding a strong determination. Perhaps dreaming about something, Yuji moved his little limbs with a twitch.
I wouldn't say that to you.
In a trembling voice, he was at last able to say it that much. He was happy.
He's a happy boy at last.
He was so happy, but for some reason he felt on the verge of tears.
In that case, I'm glad.
Her smile deepened with relief, and again she looked back to the baby.
When a child wants
a
something,
child-
they either cry or stare.
Stare.
Right. Even if they want to talk, they can't, right? So they stare. If you look back, you just know they want to say something. Even so, if you can't tell what's on their mind, they sometimes still cry. And I've just become a mother. I think I'll probably learn a lot along with this child.
After speaking with a tone full of honesty, she slowly turned to Yuji.
Yokun, there's something has happened to you.
Yeah, she gave birth to a baby.
No.
Oh no, sorry. Just,
He did too.
baby crazy.
I don't mean something bad or good. Just something big concerning you.
How did you know?
The other day, you called, didn't you? I could feel at the time something had changed in your voice. And now that I see you, I'm sure of it. Maybe it's your voice, maybe it's your features, but I feel like something about you has changed. So maybe that's the feeling I had to tell you the truth grew stronger.
I see.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, Science Man.
Too bad. Fine. How? What?
It's
Yoji.
it's like,
Yoji.
okay, you pronounce all the vowels.
Yoji?
So
Yoji?
it's
So Yoji
Yoji.
is the boy who keeps getting attacked by Tetsuo. The baby
Yoji.
is Yuji.
Yuji, Yoji.
Yoji.
Hello, Mr. Melon 56.
Wow. Okay.
In such a short time, so much had happened.
Alright.
Even looking
Is
at
it
it,
a
yeah.
dream? I don't know. Is it a dream? Okay.
The blood's everywhere.
Read.
His parents who died protecting him. The steel had definitely gone through his chest, but still, he lived. He alone lived. Who would believe such a story about he'd died and come back to life? It was an impossible tale. Normally it would be thought a lie before anything else. And yet, when he heard his sister's story, for some reason he didn't think it was a lie. Of course he was shocked, and he'd found it hard to believe. Even so, he couldn't refute it as being wrong. He didn't know if the blood was and strange objects he'd seen were reality or illusion. He wasn't even able to judge that. He didn't know himself. Maybe he was going crazy. He wanted to take comfort in thinking that the idea that he was a monster who'd died and come back to life was all a delusion. Even if it were true. Believing otherwise would be fine.
Alright,
Before
everything
he'd
is
got-
about why is you okay. No, it's fine. He found his sister, his name is Charlotte, it's fine. Everything's cool. Everything's gonna be great forever. It's a very touching scene. Now his sister's
I think he just feel.
happy, he can relax and go crazy.
I think this is just a case where he feels slightly better, but once he leaves the sister, he's going to go back to his usual self.
Probably. At least we had a nice touching scene and learned a thing.
Whoa! Oh, it crossed his mind. Suddenly,
You thought
Tetsuo's
he
face
showed up
crossed his mind.
The
Yeah.
hospital.
What's he doing here? The loneliness, the isolation and uneasiness caused by being unable to believe his own existence. Tetsuo
They're
bore
the same, now you can understand. They're the same, and now they're gonna kiss.
Even more.
After scoring, he took he's gonna go to the back to school. Oh. Oh, shit.
Oh,
But-
Kamiya's there.
But perhaps,
I
why
talking.
was Kamiya at this hospital?
See Makoto, of course.
Come to think of it, he was sure Kamiya had spoken to the substitute teacher about checking in on Makoto at the hospital. Could it be that this was that very hospital? Makoto
I
was
knew
in this
it.
hospital. Thinking about it, he couldn't stand still. He remembered those dark, sluggish eyes that had lost all of Makoto's true character. Maybe now wouldn't be too late. He wanted to see Makoto.
No,
and speak to
please
him.
don't do that, you idiot.
Hey, I got a thing in my bag. You left it at school. I believe. Oh wait, that's not me.
Sound like an insult.
Or is it me?
It sounds like an
I
insult.
believe there's a student named Makoto Mita hospitalized here.
Are you a friend? Here to visit?
Yes.
Then please fill this in. Makoto Mita, room 401.
Makoto really was in this hospital.
Thank you.
He nodded to the clerk, returning to the elevator once again.
He's going to the room and he's probably nervous about it. Oh, come on in.
Frail, grasping the silver doorknob, he slowly opened the door. There, on a bed, in a white room just like his sister's, was Makoto. He sat up and reclined on the headboard. Although Makoto had been absent-mindedly staring at his hands with a dull expression, as Yoji entered, he opened his eyes in surprise.
Oh, Yoji.
Yoji closed the door and approached Makoto. Makoto's face was completely haggard, his cheeks hollowed with dark circles standing out under his eyes. It was heartbreaking, the kind of appearance he could never imagine the ordinary Makoto in.
Yoji, why are you here?
After staring at Yoji in disbelief, Makoto hung his head in embarrassment.
Really? Why?
His restless gaze wandered over the bed, an awkward smile rising to his face.
How are you?
How are ya?
Alright, but
The fingers over the bed clasped tightly at the covers.
Yoji, did you come here to beat me up?
No.
Then what?
Now I got you, nerd.
This is a weird way to put it, but are you here to cut ties?
No.
Then why?
With his head hung, Makoto smiled sadly.
To insult me? That's gotta be it. That I did something so cruel, said something so cruel. You want to scorn me, I know it. If this wasn't a hospital, you'd kick my
Makoto.
Makoto's shoulder trembled.
I don't want to scorn you. Or insult you. I won't do any of that.
Then why did you come?
Extremely frightened, he slowly looked up at Yoji.
Because I need to kiss you. I thought we could talk.
Talk?
Yeah.
Makoto's eyes couldn't possibly open any wider.
Talk about what?
Anything. Anything about you.
About me?
Yoji nodded firmly at that uneasy question.
I want to hear from you.
G-
With a twisted face, Makoto bit his lips and tried to try and hold something back.
Even so, even if I spoke, would there be a point? I don't really have anything to say.
But I want to hear it if I can.
Why?
I can't really phrase it well. I just didn't want it to leave it this way.
Still you.
I didn't understand a thing about you, Makoto. I didn't know where we stood or anything. If someone asked me what we are, I wouldn't be able to answer.
But there was that thing in the chemistry room.
He remembered the time he'd been attacked by Makoto.
Yes, yesterday.
At the time, Makoto looked just like he was crying. That was the
first time I knew anything what was on your mind, what you really thought. So I wanted to know your feelings. I want to hear the honest truth.
Makoto turned his face away, but his cheeks trembled slightly.
It may be belated. Oh, sorry.
It may be belated, but I still want to speak to you.
A small noise came from his throat. At the corners of his eyes, it was clear to see tears were rising.
Even though I said such messed up things?
If you hadn't said, I probably wouldn't have noticed.
Probably could have handled it a bit better, though. Makoto held those tears back in his eyes, giving a small smile at that frank answer.
Yoji, you're so dense.
I know.
Ooh.
Makoto fell silent, gripping the bed tightly. In time with his blinks, pulled tears rolled down onto his cheeks. Perhaps unable to hold himself back, Makoto set his teeth and closed his eyes, sobs spilling out along with tears. His knuckles of his fingers were turning white from how tightly he gripped the covers.
I'm sorry, Yoji. I'm sorry. I thought for sure you hated me now. I thought I'd be better off dead. I disgust myself. I thought things would be better without me here. I know I can never apologize enough, but I'm so sorry.
The words practically gushed out of him, tears dripping onto the bed. Yoji reached out to softly run his palm over Makoto's back, which was heaving with painful-looking sobs.
Sorry.
He cried for a while, and after calming down, he raised his head with a long sigh. His eyes and nose were swollen red.
Yoji, do you remember the first time I spoke to you?
I remember.
When he nodded, Makoto smiled to hide his embarrassment. The first time he'd spoken with Makoto was on the way home from the entrance ceremony in the first semester. In the convenience store in front of the station, Yoji had just been about to reach for the last juice box when he heard a voice behind him. When he turned around, there was Makoto reaching out to grab the exact same item.
Exactly, Divac.
Though he was a bit surprised, it wasn't as if he was desperately wanted it, so he handed it over to Makoto.
Alright, yes.
After
We gave him the juice box and he liked it. So at first, I ate lunch with you and walked home with you so you wouldn't be alone any longer, but...
Makoto's expression dimmed, his gaze falling back to his hands.
Even so, I noticed you wouldn't open up for anything. Even though I'd hung out with you, not even an atom of your true feelings came out. I got a little vexed with that. But I felt like if I took my eye off you, you'd fall away. So I didn't leave you alone. While I was processing that, I started to think about your merits. Though you don't talk much, that quiet vibe is kinda nice. I was a little happy that I was the only one Yuji could talk to in, like normal. And then...
Makoto stopped his words as if they were too hard to say, running his tongue over his dry lips.
Shiranuma got real close to you. I got impatient. This is weird to say, but it was like, I didn't want you to get taken away from me. Then things started to get weird. When I got near you, I got dizzy. Huh?
Yeah?
He turned an inquisitive gaze to Makoto, unsure of what that meant.
How do I put this? There was this good smell, especially lately. I couldn't get enough of it. So then I did that.
A smell.
A smell. With that simple word, he was reminded of Tetsuo. How, when he smelled that scent, he felt this uncontrollable desire growing inside him. Had Makoto felt something similar to that?
Yoji, I'm really sorry. I got rash in my desperation and fell apart. And then I cooled my head. I was such a fool. I caused you so much trouble for my parents and everyone. I was only thinking of myself. It was unforgivable that I made my mom cry. Until now, everything has always worked out how I wanted it. Exams, everything. I've always done pretty good. Then I stumbled for the first time. So I struggled and threw a tantrum like a brat. Even though there's no way to make someone feel how I want them to. Despicable.
His eyes growing wet once more, Makoto raised his head as if he was determined about something.
So, I may be incredibly selfish for saying this, but I'd like to eat lunch with you, go look for CDs and stuff, do all of that again. If you don't hate me, Ryoji, let's...
Midway, his words faded into nothing. A lone tear spilling from Makoto's eyes as he hung his head.
Let's play.
In the end, Yoji didn't really understand the meaning of the word friend. But that was fine. It was fine not to really get it. There was no need to think it over. He could accept the truth that he felt. And it came out as a response.
Yeah, I'll be waiting for you to come to school.
Makoto bit his lip.
Really?
Looking at Makoto's tear-stained face, Yoji nodded firmly.
I'll be waiting.
Makoto smiled happily.
Thanks.
He understood Makoto's when Makoto back to school. No, maybe something with Yoji. Regarding Yoji.
About Shiranuma, I've said a lot, but I think he really isn't such a bad guy.
Well,
I was desperate because he doesn't know about what happened. Because I didn't want you to be taken away, but I feel like even though he seems scary, if I really talked to him, he wouldn't be. I didn't say anything before because he got on my nerves, and I definitely didn't want to think about it. But sometime, if we can, all of us should eat together.
after saying
Yeah,
that,
let
himself,
change
Makoto, I
combination.
could. So then I'd better go soon.
Staying too long and tiring later at school. Yep, at school. Okay, here they go. Goodbye. Thank you for coming. Very sweet, but so long. You made a mistake? Surely, now that he's patched things up with everybody in his life, everything will be fine forever. I'm sure.
But what about Zenya?
Yeah, who cares? He's just going nuts. Oh, now what? No, it's fucking...
God damn it.
Hey, Sakiyama.
Is this gonna be a plot
This is
dump?
unexpected. You... Hellic Tensor. Oh.
Blue.
It was Kamiya. But hadn't he been leaving the hospital earlier?
I thought I'd head back after wrapping up business, but I thought I saw you. I stopped you to make sure, and it really was you. Shouldn't you be in class?
No, that's...
Did you come because you were worried about Mita? I can't say I approve.
Vaguely. Today Kamiya seemed a bit different from usual. He couldn't put his finger on exactly what was different. But, did this man always have such a cold, hard stare?
I apologize, but I'm
not particularly scolding you for escaping from class. What I was trying to say is that you are, as you are now, shouldn't be meeting up with Mita. But...
You're the one that told him that he should skip class sometime.
Yeah, but he doesn't. He knows what's going on. He doesn't want. I think he doesn't want Yoji driving other people crazy with his weird pheromone things.
Those acerbic words.
Sorry.
Just a short while ago, Yoji would have hung his head at those words. If this had been before, he had heard Makoto's words. Makoto, who had laid bare his heart instead of concealing his feelings.
doesn't matter between me and Makoto. I think it was best for me that we were able to talk.
Yoji also replied in an unexpectedly harsh voice. If his classmates had heard, they might have been surprised at how unlike Yoji had this assertion. But Kamiya was different. Smiling faintly, he shook his head as if in disbelief.
When I tell you to avoid inciting Mita, it's not out of a simple concern at rocking the boat, although other teachers might give such advice. Worrying about your friends is fine and all, but that's a rule that applies to society in general. Sakayama, you're in a place absolutely disconnected from such reasonable standards.
He felt an incredible revulsion under Kamiya's gaze. The same feeling he got with Zenya. That look, that presumed to see through everything just because he knew your secret, violently ruthless, merciless eyes. Kamiya normally had a kind air, making him all the more unsettling now.
The tricks that have been keeping you in the dark are gradually becoming ineffective. So enough of that. I thought, wouldn't it be better if for Sakayama to develop some self-awareness? I'll explain to a harmless extent some of the circumstances surrounding you that have been kept secret. Wow, this is just so much plot. Holy shit.
Sensei.
You should no longer allow well-meaning people to approach you, especially innocent boys without sin like Mita. It's your fault that Mita became so strange, Sakayama. That morning, he had been
That morning, he had been told the same thing by a totally different person. Okinaga Zenya. Was it a coincidence? No. Perhaps? Could it be... Oh.
Could it be, Sensei? You know something? Like Okinaga? About my body.
Okinaga? Did Okinaga tell you something again? Really, for the love of God. That warning went in one ear and out the other.
Kamiya withdrew the smile directed at Yoji and let out an annoyed sigh.
With regards to Mita, you really didn't make a mistake, Sakayama. However, there's no doubt that you are the cause of all this. More accurately, it's your body. It's the fault of the recent changes in your body.
He was terrified at this statement. Did Kamiya yet know about those creepy lumps of meat?
To illustrate, maybe I should use pheromones as an example. It's a substance animals secrete in order to attract members of the opposite sex. That was what Mita was unable to resist. He was really just a victim. Well, Mita does have a unique constitution, but in the end, he's just a human. He's not an Osu. People like that aren't uncommon. At any rate, Sakayama, you currently give off a scent that will attract any nearby Osu and drive them crazy.
He wanted to laugh this off as a bad joke, but the words Makoto said earlier haunted him.
How do I put this? There was this good smell. Oh, sorry. How do I put this? There was this good smell, especially lately. I couldn't get enough of it. So then, I did that.
What's with that?
Yeah.
He retorted boldly with all his might. He knew that by doing so, he was getting pulled further into his opponent's mind games.
Both Makoto and I are male.
Oh yeah, so there, yeah. So that is all you
Pheromones, you say?
This is
If that's the case, the ones...
Yeah, pheromones, you say. If that's the case, the ones that become strange should be of the opposite sex. Both Makoto and I are male, so then how...
The difference of sex between a parasite and its host does not matter. Rather, it's better for them that the host is male. The internal being that is transforming your body is utterly cursed by God. Because of this, when it uses its host's body to breed, it chooses to do so in a manner that shows the most contempt for God. A being
my God.
exemplifying Sodom's sin, so to speak. Wow.
So they are sticking it to the man.
That's real. I've never heard such a thing before. That is really interesting.
In Kamiya's smile, Yoji caught a glimpse of a shadow unbecoming of an educator.
Surely you have some knowledge of this? The stamp that is born on your body. The sign exists to signal to Osu that you are a Mesu. Hosts like you, who have successfully fused with an internal being, assigned to an excellent Osu capable of impregnating you with an immaculate.
That's a lie.
He wanted it to be a lie. Or so he thought on one hand, but there was a part of him that gazed at the source of his crumbling everyday life with resignation.
This trouble
trouble
surrounding
surround-
you will only increase from now on. Though you may intend to settle this matter quietly, there is only so much you can do. So, Sakayama, we'd like if you entrusted yourself to us in the future. You won't regret it. Rather, you couldn't possibly be more sincere about this. After all, you are the hope we have been anxiously awaiting for a long time.
Who the hell is we? Who on earth are you?
We call ourselves the Free Peoples, people who worship and revere the miracle in your body. Boom.
It was bewildering. Exactly how much of Kamiya's ridiculous speech was true? No. More crucial in that the authenticity of those words was the matter of whether or not this man was trustworthy in the first place. Thinking like this, the answer was simple. The way he toyed with him, using his words, forcibly pressing conversation on him, vividly reminded him of Zenya. Regardless of that person's actual stance on things, this was how it was to Zyoji.
No, I don't trust you.
He spat in a low voice, then turned his back, unflustered. Kamiya didn't even bother repeating himself.
I know, it sounds crazy. I don't think you will come to accept this anytime soon. However, Sakayama, sooner or later you'll return to us, because there's not a single place on Earth that will accept you as you are now. For now, just remember what I said. We will be waiting for you anytime. A place on Earth that... Oh, there we go. Sorry.
A place on Earth that would accept Yoji as he was now.
Was he?
Though it was. Though it was just a fleeting hope, he had a single idea. He had to make sure. Even if it was frightening, he had no choice but to press forward. Even if just to defy despair, it wasn't too late. Squeeze out another baby.
Alright, Deep Red
As he
Sunset, he went this guy the past you couldn't think of what's going on. Everything's crazy. Oh. He's going to Tetsuo's house.
Oh, I'm getting sleepy.
Me too, let's stop.
Oh wait a second.
Hmm?
We're in Tetsuo's point of
That's
view,
what
I think.
Oh.
What?
Yeah, keep going. Just keep going briefly here.
He had no more doubts. He slowly... Nope, it's...
Oh,
he's
okay.
going to Tetsuo's house. Alright. Well, I gotta go to bed too. But that was, I thought that was actually sort of a well-written section, that whole hospital section.
Except for the fact that it's way too fucking long.
Yeah. And it's a huge info dump, like, all at once, which is pretty bad.
At the end of the sisters bit, I thought it was like leading up to the end of a chapter, but then it's like, oh, by the way, Makoto. Oh, by the way, Kamiya.
Yeah, they could have put, I mean, drawn that out a little bit, but otherwise it was just some good exposition. Could have really put that in some of the other parts and cut out all of the, you know, ambivalent shit.
Extraneous garbage,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna save again, even though I know it's useless.
We didn't even make any choices this time, really, except for 2 reds,
Yeah.
I think.
It's all red. Just some blues.
Please
and then a bunch
feed me. I love trash.
Alright, well thanks for watching. I think you were wrong about us being 3/4 of the way through when you said that the other day, Helmet Condenser.
I meant to the overall storyline. I didn't realize how much they were going to draw out everything.
Okay. Well, see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.
Thanks for watching. Good night.
Bloop and another bloop.